And welcome back, everybody, here to the Primetime Preview episode number 2 of our national show here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all these okay, here with you, getting you set for the first weekend in June across all sports. And we have a lot of good stuff to talk about tonight. Got to look back at Game 1, a wild night in City in the NBA Finals as the Pacers lead for 0.3 seconds. Well, that's all that matters. Another crazy win for Indiana. Tyrese Halliburton take crazy shots. The Thunder have scored Game 2. What adjustments they have to make? Look at the Stanley Cup Final tonight. Game 2, Panthers Oilers. Oilers coming back from this down to win it overtime in Game 1. You just have more scoring options this time around, or can Florida reigning Stanley Cup champs Panthers tonight in Canada? Look ahead to the weekend in baseball, and a hot take from me why the Red Sox-Yankees matchup is actually like the 7th best matchup this weekend. We'll talk about that one, especially against Brian Francine, our IESR New England insider. Look at the weekend in baseball. It's a winner-take-all in Oklahoma City tonight. Second Texas College Series. Talk NCAA Super Regionals underway. A lot of offense so far. The games that took place this afternoon. French Open Finals. We have the top 2 men and the women. It's going to be a lot of fun in Roland Garros. Look ahead to that this weekend. We'll talk WNBA with the team of the league. Make a little bit of a mistake with some matchups late in the year. We'll talk MLS, NWSL, UFL, XFL. We'll talk NASCAR, a little golf. Golf coming up next in prime time. Your nice with Radio Steve. And what is going on, everybody? Ricky K here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Is episode 2. It's the first Friday in June. Weather is heating up, especially here in the Northeast. The sports are heating up, which is a lot of fun. We've had crazy news with coaches being fired from conference finals teams this week. It's a lot of fun, and I'm hoping that you'll come along for the ride. Follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at IE Sports Radio. Be sure to like and subscribe. You'll hear more of our national shows throughout the week, whether it's the opening series, challenge on the play, the defining moment. We've got all the awesome shows for you throughout the week, as well as our single sports shows, such as Set Point, Bullpen Bulletin, 3 and Out, the Neutral Zone, Fast Break, all those Extra Mile, Shin Pads and Shenanigans. All of our single sports shows are here. And plus, you get to hear from some of our insiders with awesome shorts that they are putting out as well. You can follow me on X at Rickinator555. Also at IESR_New York, since I am the New York insider. We put up a couple videos as well throughout the week. And if you want to get involved in the conversation, I want to know, because this show is your personal Friday weekend sports TV guide. What series or sports are you watching this weekend? What players are under your microscope? I'm kind of like your remote control, trying to get you set for what options are out there. And it's up to you, really, which ones you are looking forward to seeing, as we try to cover as much sports as we can over the next hour. And of course, we'll have some special guests throughout the show as well. Brian Francione from Beantown, from ISR New England, formerly the Beantown Sports Panel, will join me. We'll look ahead to Red Sox Yankees, as well as some of the other series going on this weekend, including Cubs Tigers in Detroit. And I'll throw this question out there for all of you as well. Which team out of those two is more likely to make the World Series? Is it the Cubs or is it the Tigers? We will debate on that in the next half hour. But let's start with the NBA. And of course, before we do that, I want to welcome Taryn Rodriguez to the show. Taryn, how are you? Thanks for tuning in. Of course, check him on Set Point. He's also our Southern California insider, covering some good stuff. We had some good back and forth during Yankees-Dodgers this past week. Let's talk NBA Finals. The Pacers do it again. Down 9 points with 2:50 to go. And you're thinking the Thunder have got this thing going. They had a 15-point lead in the fourth quarter. They forced 20 turnovers in the first half. Things were looking good. And I was chatting with a couple of people last night and saying it's kind of good for Indiana. They've had 20 turnovers and they're only down 12 points. And you learn with this Rick Carlisle coach team, they are never out of a game until that clock says 0. And Tyrese Halliburton is probably one of the top 5 clutch players in the league right now. I know Jalen Brunson won the Clutch Player of the Year award, and deservedly so. But if they gave out that award for the postseason, it would go to Tyrese Halliburton, who was having kind of a passive game to begin. He usually likes to distribute and then take over. He had 14 points, 10 boards, 6 of 13 shooting. But of course, the big shot with 0.3 left on the clock. He has hit buzzer beaters galore in this postseason. And what you like about this Indiana Pacers team that wasn't really given a chance to win by anybody. I mean, they were like plus 700 to win this series. But what you like about the Pacers is that they don't have to rely on one guy to do everything. Kind of what you saw with the Knicks and why they lost is that you're relying on Brunson and Towns to cover the bulk of the work because OG and Mikal Bridges weren't doing their thing. You look at the Pacers last night, all 5 starters in double figures. Pascal Siakam with 19, Miles Turner with 15 and 9 boards. Nembhard had 14, including a big 3 late. Aaron Nesmith with 10 points and the team-high 12 rebounds, including the big defensive board that set up the last possession. They can get contributions from their bench. They had 17 from Obi Toppin, who has become a big player in this series. And again, you look at these stats, Indiana had 18 threes. That's usually what they need to win. They dominate on the boards. I mean, 56 rebounds, but the Thunder had more points in the paint, which is crazy. Thunder had 46 points in the paint, Indiana just 34. But the key was turnovers. If you told me one team had 25 turnovers, that's the Pacers, and the Thunder have 7 turnovers, you don't see how Oklahoma City loses this game. But the problem is the Thunder didn't really take advantage. When you look at 25 turnovers, only 11 points off of turnovers, that doesn't get it done. You've got to be able to capitalize on those mistakes. And the Thunder just didn't do that. Because you look at Oklahoma City last night, and the question is what goes wrong? Because there's not a lot really you can say. Do you really make adjustments in a series in which you dominate over the course of the game and you just blow it late? The key would just be hold on. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander had 38 points last night, 14 of 30, including 3 threes. He got 5 threes from Lou Dort. He did a good job defensively down the stretch. He had 15. Alex Caruso had 11. Jalen Williams, 17 points. But I want to see more of the bigs in this series. Because you think about where the Knicks kind of had success when you're looking at the Pacers. And to me, it's when you play both bigs together, when you had Cat and Mitchell Robinson. So where is Chet Holmgren and Isaiah Hartenstein? Hartenstein, to me, when you look at him last night, he had 17 minutes, only 5 field goal attempts, but he had 9 points and 9 boards. So why aren't we seeing more minutes from Hartenstein in that scenario? I mean, the Knicks clearly last year, when you look at Hartenstein, played a factor in those kind of minutes. He should be getting more than 17 minutes. I'm sorry. Like, to me, I don't want to shy away from playing big. They started Case and Wallace last night, the Thunder. Wallace being 21-year-old from Kentucky. And they were trying to go small with Indiana. If you're the Thunder and you're known for your defense, why are you trying to match Indiana small versus small? Like, if you have the bigs, take advantage of that. Use your size to your advantage. Make the game slower. Because the Thunder are more known for their defense. They're not known for putting up a billion points. And you have to, as a defensive team, hold Indiana under a certain number. When the Pacers are getting in the 110s in points, they're winning these games. You have to keep Indiana at best low hundreds if you want to win. If you're going to want to get in a track meet with Indiana, you're not winning. Because they can hit threes. They're very good with their offensive sets. And when you look at the coaching matchup in this series between Rick Carlisle and Mark Daigneault, Carlisle's the better coach. And it's quite simply because Carlisle has won championships. We don't know what the Thunder are at this stage. And we're going to find out. What's going to be really interesting is how the Thunder respond. Game 2, Sunday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on ABC. And here's the thing when you look at the Thunder. If you go back to May, when they played Game 1 against the Nuggets, the Thunder were in pretty much cruise control until Denver found a way to rally 121-119, where Jokic 42 points and Aaron Gordon hit a crazy miracle shot. The next game, which you wonder, hey, how does the team respond? The Thunder did win by 43 points, 149-106. So There is a map to Oklahoma City winning the series. It's not impossible for Oklahoma City to win this series. But when you think back to, well, how does a team recover when losing a game the way Oklahoma City did? We saw it kind of with the. I hate to keep drawing comparisons. We'll draw it to the Knicks here in this case. The Knicks had the blown lead, 14-point lead with 3 minutes to go in game one. Ended up losing game two. Now, they did take the series to 6, but they had won one of those games in the Garden. There would have been a game 7 at home, and who knows what would happen. It doesn't maybe affect you the next game, but it still is a missed opportunity. And the Thunder will have 48 hours to sit on it. It'd probably be better for them if they came out tomorrow night and played. But the NBA with these crazy schedules they always have, where it's like one game, then you play every 2 days, then you play another game, and then you play 2 more days off, and you play another game. You have that time where you got to reflect. Now, how does this help Oklahoma City? Game 3 is Wednesday in Indiana. The Pacers have yet to win a game 3 in these playoffs. So if you take that trend, the Thunder are probably going to win one of the next 2 games if that holds. So they're still very much in this series. They're favored by 10.5 tomorrow night or Sunday night, a very large point spread. OKC's deep. They're good defensively. I still think they're going to win this series, but we, as a national media, have kind of given Indiana a lot of disrespect. Because you think about the Pacers, they've made deep runs in the playoffs the last couple of years. They've got a well-balanced team. And they've shown if you're keeping them around late in the game, they're going to find a way to make the block, the shot, the stop defensively, the extra pass. They will do whatever it takes to win. And when I saw Halliburton make that shot last night, to me, that looked like a team of destiny. Because they did it to the Bucks, they did it to the Cavs, they did it to the Knicks, and now they've done it to the Thunder. They've come back against every team they've played. That's one that goes in the highlight reel, and Halliburton is just insane in these late game situations. He just always finds a way. And you think about if you're out there on the West Coast in Sacramento, you think about that trade they made with Sabonis. I'm sure Kings fans are like, we should have kept that guy. But you never know in this case. So that should be a fun game 2 to Sunday night in Oklahoma City. Let's get to the NHL because we actually have a hockey game tonight. Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final, Panthers and Oilers. Of course, we previewed this matchup last week. You also caught Adam's preview Tuesday on the neutral zone. This was a fun game 1. You had the Panthers getting out to a 3-1 lead early in the second period. 2 goals from Sam Bennett, a power play goal from Brad Marchand. But Edmonton found a way. You had 2 goals from Leon Draisaitl, where Draisaitl did not score in the Stanley Cup Final last year. He was battling some injuries, but at the same time, when he is on his game, you have 2 elite scoring options for Edmonton that you have to try to maintain. And that's not easy to do. And you also have an Oilers team that can win with other guys scoring. Yes, I know Zach Hyman is out, but Arvidsson had a goal a minute into the second, a minute after Bennett made a 3-1 in the second. Then Matthias Ekholm, who just came back, he scores in the third period to tie the game. And you look at Edmonton, they were the much more aggressive team in the third period. They took more shots. They outshot Florida 46-32. And while the Panthers had their chances in overtime, you had Edmonton. Stuart Skinner made some big saves. And if he's going to do that, the Oilers are going to get contributions from everybody, which it seems they do. Both these teams tend to do that. And they're going to win this series. Like the Oilers scoring 4 goals on a night where Connor McDavid didn't do anything in terms of goal production, that says a lot. He had 2 assists on the game tying and the game winning goal, but no goals. Connor McDavid's eventually going to score in this series. It's a matter of if he's going to score in bunches or he's going to score and just make that one big play that decides the series. Now, I think Florida can win game 2 tonight. And that's why I said don't expect Florida to go down quietly. The Panthers have a bunch of stars. Like Sam Bennett is going to get paid this offseason based on the work he's doing in these postseasons over the last couple of years. But you got to think Barkov is going to respond. You got to think Matthew Tkachuk is going to have a much better game. Carter Verhaeghe is going to have a much better game. They have great options all across the ice. They have a goaltender in Bobrovsky that's won a Stanley Cup. I would have to think I would take Florida tonight to make this a 1-1 series going back to Sunrise, Florida. Game 2 again tonight 8 p.m. Eastern on TNT out in Edmonton. But the Oilers right now, I'm not there with Team of Destiny yet, but this is a much better team than they were a year ago. And it's tough to say that Paul Maurice. I think still Paul Maurice I would take as a coach option over Chris Knobloch. But overall, if Draisaitl is on fire, as I just mentioned, and he is going to score goals to go with McDavid, that's a tough 1-2 punch to contain. Just ask the Stars. Stars had a miracle comeback in Game 1, lost 4 straight. Now Pete DeBoer's out of a job. Which I find it weird, and I'd love if Adam was here to ensure it answer this on neutral zone. How quickly NHL coaches get fired. I mean, Pete DeBoer has made it to so many conference finals with Dallas, and he's out of a job. Like, to me, that doesn't, like, you saw that in the Knicks with Tibbs, makes the conference final, he's out of a job. It's crazy to think about with coaches, the short leashes they have nowadays in all sports, that you just don't seem to get a rapport going. But you look at Edmonton, they made a change with Chris Knobloch last year, and Chris Knobloch's made 2 Stanley Cups. Sometimes the changes work. And sometimes it's tough to explain when they work and when they do work. But I think Florida's going to come out and be the more aggressive team, the more desperate team. I don't think they want to go home down 0-2. Even though if they do, I don't think the series is over. The series never ends until a road team wins. So to me, I think you look at the Oilers having the edge, but there's a reason why the series was even. I still think the series is going 7 games. And I still like Edmonton. It'll be interesting tonight what happens in that series. But we have a winner-take-all tonight out in Oklahoma City. Winner-take-all on ESPN, Texas Tech and Texas in the Women's College World Series. Again, 8 o'clock Eastern, ESPN. This has been a really fun series because you look at both of these teams. Both games decided by 1 run. Texas ends up winning Game 1 on Wednesday, 2-1, because Niger Kennedy, who has been the best pitcher in college softball, is trying to walk Reese Atwood. And a 3-0 pitch, he accidentally puts down the middle. And Atwood ends up hitting it for a 2-run single. And Texas takes the lead and holds on to win. And then Thursday, Texas Tech gets out to a 4-1 lead. Texas rallies with 2 runs in the 7th, but it's not enough. But you think about the way Texas Tech scored their 4 runs: a hit by pitch, a wild pitch, sacrifice fly, and an error. Texas is going to hit the long ball. We've seen that in this Women's College World Series. They've scored a lot of their runs via the long ball. But Texas Tech wins with that small ball kind of play. They're not going to be a team that dominates on the scoreboard. If you look at their run to this point, even when they beat Oklahoma, it was like 3-2. Like, they're not going to go out there and put up a lot of runs. And that's why I asked this question: who has the edge in the circle tonight? Because Tegan Caven has been just as good for Texas as Kennedy. And Kennedy, by the way, it's reported that she's going to get another big NIL deal to stay at Texas Tech next year, which is huge. But they're not thinking about next year right now. They're thinking about tonight and trying to win a college softball championship. Caven in Game 1 went 7 innings, allowed just 3 hits, a walk, and 3 strikeouts on less than 100 pitches. She has had some good pitch performances in this Women's College World Series, and she's had the good performances against Texas Tech. We talked about it in one of the shorts I put out there last week at the Bullpen Bulletin. Back on February 14th, these two pitchers faced each other. Texas won 2-1 in 9 innings. Remember, last night, Texas Tech snapped a 15-game losing streak to Texas. Caven had 18 strikeouts. 18. 1 run on 4 hits. Kennedy pitched in that same game, allowed 1 earned run over 8 innings and struck out 11. I think we're getting a lot of strikeouts tonight. I know in Game 1 they've only combined for 10. I'm going to make a prediction here. I think tonight they're going to combine for 15 strikeouts. Because I think in this kind of situation, it's going to come down to which team takes advantage of their scoring opportunities. We saw Texas Tech had a golden opportunity in the first inning in Game 1. The bases loaded. They couldn't get it done. And when you face an elite pitcher like Caven, you got to score when you get the opportunity. You just have to. Because you never know when an opportunity is coming again. Same thing with Texas. You had chances in Game 2, down 4-1. You scored 2 runs. In the 7th, and you can't complete the comeback. Think about how Texas won Game 1 with 4 errors. They have 4 errors. You should win games that way. Texas in these 2 games has made 6 errors defensively. If Texas is going to make errors tonight, they're losing the series. That's the way it is. They can hit home runs, and they've got plenty of hitters that are going to hit home runs. Reese Atwood, very capable of going deep in these games. Ashley Maloney's very capable. Mia Scott's very capable. Jolie Mitchell's capable. Katie Stewart. They're going to hit home runs. A lot of runs from Texas in this College World Series has been via the long ball. Coming into this series, they had 9 runs in 3 games. They hit 6 homers. Again, you're playing a pitcher in Kennedy, and you've got to wonder if that fatigue is going to get to Kennedy. She's pitched in every game for Texas Tech. They don't really go to anybody else. She's the pitcher. Texas has a couple pitchers they can go to, but Kennedy, you wonder if not just the physical fatigue, but the emotional fatigue and the mental fatigue. You saw that with Carlin Pickens in Tennessee in the semifinal, how that can hurt the team. But Texas could add another national championship to their book. But how big would this be if Texas Tech found a way to win this national championship after beating Florida State in Tallahassee in the Super Regional, beating UCLA, beating Oklahoma, and then beating Texas? That'd be a heck of a run. And especially for Texas Tech to beat their former Big 12 rivals to get here would definitely be something special. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun tonight. Don't expect a lot of runs. We've had a lot of runs in some of these other series, which we'll get into in college baseball. But tonight can be all about that matchup as well. Speaking of college baseball, let's do some Super Regionals updates. We have 4 in progress today, 4 game ones tomorrow. We'll start with the games that have already taken place in Chapel Hill today. North Carolina just steamrolls Arizona 18-2. Arizona got a run against Jake Knapp, and then North Carolina came out and scored 5 in the bottom of the first inning. North Carolina scored 10 in the first 4 innings. It was just a laugher. North Carolina's got the better offense. Arizona, I wonder what pitching they have. They got through the Eugene Regional, but I don't really know what else is there. I like North Carolina to get out of that Super Regional and get to Omaha. Down in Louisville right now, it's the Cardinal leading Miami 8-1 in the 8th. I liked Miami going into the series, and I still think Miami can win, but Louisville getting 2 home runs from Monroe, their third baseman. Pike hit a home run in the second inning as well. And you look at Forbes for Louisville, a starting pitcher, 9 strikeouts for 5 2/3 innings. Very solid performance from him. So Louisville looking like they're going to take a 1-0 lead in that series. Remember, these are best of 3. Right now in progress on ESPN is Florida State and Oregon State. Jamie Arnold, who's one of the best pitchers in college baseball, going for Florida State against an Oregon State team that scored 50 runs after they lost their first game in their regional. So this is a Beavers offense that is in cruise control right now. And Florida State's a good team. Very solid group of players. So this is a true 8-9 matchup that I think is going to be a lot of fun. And then tonight at 9 o'clock on ESPN2, Coastal Carolina takes on Auburn. Ike Irish is one of the better power hitters in the country for Auburn. Coastal is a real fun team. They're first time making the Supers since 2016. I'm really interested to see what this team can do in this kind of situation. They definitely one of the better mid-major programs out there, and Auburn doesn't really get a lot of love in the SEC. When you look at Vanderbilt, who's now out, and Texas, who's now out, but you look at Arkansas and Auburn being those 2 top SEC teams remaining. We'll see what happens with that. And then tomorrow, in addition to the game 2s, we have other series. 1 o'clock on ESPNU. Murray State, who took down Georgia Tech and Ole Miss to get here. They don't have a lot of velocity-laden pitchers. They take on Duke, who's out there top center fielder due to his getting ejected for a celebration thing that was just bogus by the umpires because of the home run props, even though the guy still had the helmet prop on the dugout, which I think was ridiculous. So Murray State against Duke, that's a 1 o'clock ESPNU. West Virginia against LSU at 2 o'clock on ESPN. LSU's got pitcher Kate Anderson, who's very fun to watch. They beat Little Rock in their regional in a game 3. Tigers, to me, could be a real interesting team going forward. Then your other 2 series, Tennessee against Arkansas, 5 o'clock on ESPN. If you're looking for a pitcher to watch in terms of MLB draft stuff, which is a month away, by the way, Liam Doyle for Tennessee is one of the best pitchers in the country. 2.84 ERA, 158 strikeouts. Going against an Arkansas team in the shortstop, Aloy, hitting 355, 20 homers, 64 RBIs. This is a good matchup because Doyle got dominated by Arkansas earlier in the year. Good SEC versus SEC matchup down in Fayetteville. And then the nightcap, 7 o'clock ESPNU, UTSA, who upset Texas to get to the Supers. They will take on UCLA. The Bruins were able to roll through their regional pretty easily as the 15 seed. They are a team that's going to be fun, but UTSA is not going to be afraid of this matchup. They're going to be a team that knows, hey, we beat a team like Texas. We can come in there and knock off a team like UCLA, but it's not going to be easy. I mean, Roadrunners are going to find a way to make this a very compelling matchup. So that's your slate. In terms of who's the favorite, I don't really know if you could say there's a favorite right now. I think that's great. We saw it in college softball where, you had Oklahoma as the 4-time national champions, but it was never really a favorite, I think, to get there because the matchups were so compelling. In Oklahoma State, it was so many close games. And now if the top 2 seeds out before the Supers in baseball, you can make a case anybody's got a chance. I think that's great when that happens for the sport. You don't really have that dominant team. But right now, I tend to like, if I had to pick one, I probably would North Carolina. I may be in prisoner of the moment with that 18-run performance today, but Jake Knapp didn't even have his best stuff. He's the ACC pitcher of the year, but he's a guy who doesn't give up a lot of earned runs. And when you have an offense like the Tar Heels that can go out there and put up production at will, Stevenson, who's one of their better players, had a rough regional, and they still scored a lot of runs. And you have a guy like Gavin Gallagher who's on fire right now. That's the kind of team I wouldn't want to play. But you're staring at probably North Carolina, and they might have a favorable draw considering they might have either Miami or Louisville, and then maybe Auburn in that pool. That's going to help them when they get to Omaha, if they do get to Omaha. So much like Arizona still has a shot, when you kind of lose 18-2 with your best pitcher on the mound, very tough to see Arizona winning 2 games on the road. But we'll see. That's why they play the game. So we'll take our first time out. We'll come back. We'll have our IESR New England insider, B Mad Dog, Brian Francione on. We'll talk Red Sox, Yankees, Cubs, Tigers, all the big series of the weekend. And some big news out in the desert as the Diamondbacks ace out for the rest of the year. What does that mean for buying and selling at the trade deadline? We'll talk about all that coming up next. You'll listen to the Primetime Preview on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all the sports. We'll be right back after a word from our sponsors.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Hey there, eSports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
And welcome back to the Primetime Preview here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. To get set to talk a little baseball, and joining me to talk some baseball is, of course, we have Red Sox Yankees. We got to have our IESR New England insider, the B Mad Dog himself, Brian Francione, on the show. Brian, how are you?
I'm great, Ricky. You got the biggest rivalry in all of baseball this weekend, no matter if it's alive or dead or not. You got National Donut Day, as you know, both our cities, especially Boston, runs on Dunkin'. So free with every purchase. I have one earlier, posted a little bit. You got to get this. There's a lot of great matchups this weekend besides Sox and Yankees as well that we can go over. You got the Stanley Cup Finals tonight, and what a clutch shot by Halliburton. What the Halliburton happened last night in the NBA? You summed it up great. Thanks for having me on. Woof!
So let's get into it. Of course, you mentioned we'll start here at Red Sox Yankees, which starts tonight, although it's going to start a little bit later than 7 o'clock because of the rain delay, thunderstorms here in the New York area. So we'll see when they do get underway. But I was thinking about this, Brian, when thinking about Red Sox Yankees this week. I'm looking at the slate of games. I'm going to dive into some of those. Yeah. It's like, to me, and this is my hot take coming in, it's like a mid-series this week. And it's kind of sad because, yes, it's nationally. You have 7:30 Fox game tomorrow night because of the Belmont Stakes. You've got a 7 o'clock ESPN game Sunday, and national games love Red Sox Yankees. But to me, the rivalry is great when both these teams are good. And it's either one year New York's not good and Boston's good, or Boston's not good, New York is good. So you have that, and there's okay, Yankee fans hate Devers. But they don't hate Devers the way they hate Ortiz. And you look at the Red Sox. Do you hate Judge as much as you hate Jeter? Or I
hated A-Rod way more than any of those two put together.
So A-Rod's not there. And to me, as Cora and Boone are friends with each other, so it doesn't really matter if the managers like each other. To me, the juice is not there. And to me, it hasn't been there since the wild card game in 21.
Absolutely. But before we get into baseball, what may make the Boston-New York rivalry back is the results of the Eastern Conference semifinals in a different sport. It's pretty obvious with the Celtics and Knicks. Might have brought that rivalry back, but the problem is the Red Sox haven't been the greatest the past few years due to John Henry having other investments such as racing, the Pittsburgh Penguins, and as a result, until this offseason, he finally opened his big fat we brought Bregman in, and he's not here this weekend. And then your question, is a Sox-Yankees rivalry dead? I wouldn't say it's dead, but a better term would be like a volcano that hasn't erupted or a water park in like the spring that hasn't reached its peak in the summer is a better way to describe it. But what doesn't help anything that the guy who stepped in for Garrett Cole this year so far, Max Fried, who's been phenomenal for the Yankees, He's not pitching this weekend, but you got Crochet pitching Saturday night, and you got Buehler pitching tonight when the rain clears in New York.
That does help. You have Walker Buehler against Will Warren tonight. Crochet, you mentioned Saturday against Ryan Yarbrough, who's been good. But, am I tuning into Fox to watch Ryan Yarbrough? Not really much. I'm tuning to watch Crochet. And then Sunday, it's Rodon against Dobbins on ESPN. And Rodon's been really good.
Dobbins has been a lot better than people give him credit. He doesn't get the coverage like Crochet gets or the Devers news with the Bregman drama and Cassis getting hurt. It's been overshadowed because he's in and out of the rotation. And when Ryan Fitz had a disastrous outing against the Angels on Tuesday, Dobbins came in and he gave the Sox a chance to win. So he's been pretty good. He deserves a spot in the rotation. Bello hasn't been himself this year so far. And Hoke has been a huge disappointment. So I really like Dobbins. He could give them a hard time Sunday. But
what do you think of this weekend? Because you have, to me, what's interesting about this weekend, because I can't look at right now, the two teams are in different stratospheres, as you've mentioned. The Red Sox not playing their best baseball. The Yankees have won 8 of their last 9 series. I'm interested to see what Carlos Narvaez does in New York. And also what's interesting to me is Chapman back in the Bronx. I'm sure he's going to be in some late game situations, and that could get a little bit fun. But what are you looking forward to in the Bronx this weekend?
What I'm looking forward to is you got the aces for the Sox and Judge. Obvious, everyone knows who they are. They are top 5 in leading the league in RBIs this year. Both of those guys are 2 in the top 5 categories. And you got Duran, who's gotten the most hits for the Sox. How does he respond with all his coming out struggling with mental health with the Netflix document? How does he respond in a hostile environment in the Bronx? Maybe not tonight because of the rain, but how do they do in that environment, especially once tomorrow comes on and Sunday on a huge national TV stage? How does he respond to that? The Red Sox, believe it or not, are our area code in one-run games, 6-17 in one-run games this year, which if they had gone some of the other way, we'd be competing for first place with the Yankees this weekend.
Yankees have had their issues in one-run games as well, though they've seemed to have been a little bit better of that of late. So especially with the injury to Weaver, that with their bullpen, I think would be interesting. Again, you don't get the 4-hour-long games that national TV used to get. You'll get some stuff, and like I said, I don't just because something's dead doesn't mean it can't be revived.
No.
But I don't see where the revival is, and I think that's kind of the weird part. I'm like, oh, it's Yankees Red Sox. To me, it's like, okay, cool. It's just I need both teams to be great to be like 2017 playoffs was great because both these teams were in the
nothing will beat the early 2000s with the Sox. When you got Pedro throwing Don Zimmer down, that always makes me chuckle. The Who's Your Daddy stuff with New York to Pedro, those days are long gone, obviously. But you love it when these two teams are at their best. It's good for baseball as well. And you got back-to-back weekend series. Father's Day, I'll be there with my dad on Father's Day next Sunday. You got Yankees going to Fenway. But the Yankees have Volpe. They also got Cody Bellinger as well, who's been great for the Yankees. Obviously, Judge is one of the best players in all baseball besides Shohei Ohtani. I am looking forward. I think the Sox will get one, but I think Yankees are going to get 2 out of 3. I don't think either team's going to sweep, but the Sox tend to show up in the past few years when they play the Yankees. Friday night in Fenway last year, they hit like 20 runs.
It's the matchup between Bellinger and Buehler tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. 2X Dodgers. And of course, Buehler returning to the place where he got the last out of the World Series.
Yes, for the Dodgers.
So much. By the way, Taryn loves your shirt. So we had to mention that. He also said Dan Safeway Pavilion to get an 8-pack of donuts at $2.50 on Donut Day. I did go get my butter pecan coffee with the whole strawberry donut today, so that was pretty good. And Adam says, good evening. Red Sox need to be more consistent for the rivalry to become nationally relevant again. We talked about that. I would agree with that. But Adam might be more vested in our next topic. So to me, the biggest series of the weekend is actually in Detroit. Cubs at the Tigers. They play on Apple TV tonight. Tarek Skubal goes for Detroit. So I threw this question out there, Brian. I'm interested to get your thoughts. Out of these two, who's more likely to make the World Series, Cubs or Tigers?
That's a very interesting question, Ricky, because I think when it comes to the starting pitching, the Tigers have the edge, and both these teams, Ian Happ's on a decline for the Cubs, but Suzuki and Crow Armstrong has been stepping up for the Cubs really well. And the Tigers, they got a lot of great young players, including number 1 overall pick he is back. Tolkinson's doing real. And I know well that from Javier Baez hit a clutch home run against my Red Sox early in the year. So they got a lot of fresh young talent in Detroit. You can make a case for all the teams in Detroit, whether it's Pistons, Red Wings, and more, and the Lions obviously being dominant except for the divisional series. That will give your co-host on baseball something to whine about, but that's a whole different topic. But if I had to pick one, I would say the Tigers, because the Cubs you can't count out the Brewers and the Cardinals at all in that Central Division in the National League. But obviously you got the Guardians with Jose Ramirez and Juan, who's real. They have another good series this weekend against the Houston Astros, Bregman's old team. They still got Altuve, but the matchup will be something to watch for tonight there as well. That's my thoughts.
As is Crow Armstrong for MVP. I've been shocked by the way he played this year. Definitely good to see him kind of bounce back after a rough 2024. To me, I think it's the Tigers. And the reason to me is the path is a lot easier. I think you look at the Cubs right now, they've got a 5-game lead in the Central. I'm not fearing St. Louis or Milwaukee if I'm the Cubs. But think about having to go through the Dodgers, going through the Padres, which they've done. In the Cubs, that April they had was probably the most brutal schedule I've ever seen. And they got through it, and they're going to thrive because of it. But you look at the Phillies in the East, the Mets in the East. That's two teams you got to go through. Look at Detroit. You're looking at Central right now where Cleveland, okay. Kansas City's got no offense, even though they call them Caglione. Houston's not your older brother's Houston Astros. Seattle's okay. And you got the Yankees in the East, and who knows what Tampa and Toronto. And if you throw Skubal 2 out of 5 in a best of 5, you see him twice. In a best of 7, you see him 3 times. I don't really know what team could go through that. Plus, I think the manager matchup is fun too. Like, would you take Craig Counsell or AJ Hinch? I would take Hinch. Detroit finds a way to win things very creative and weird because Hinch is kind of known for that kind of model. They're getting healthier. I'm interested to see what both these teams think do at the trade deadline because I think both could make really impact moves if they wanted to.
Absolutely. The Cubs should try and get a starting pitcher at the trade deadline too to boost their chances to go further. As of right now, the Red Sox, they're already spreading these rumors about Duran or Abreu getting traded. Abreu's been wonderful for the Sox this year. He was tied for the Bregman leading the team in home runs. He's a great outfielder as well. But the man who shocks me how good he's doing and the man who hit a clutch home run the last time the Sox played is Cedine Rafael. He's been one of their best with runners in scoring position where the Sox have had struggled all season, leaving guys on base, and it makes a difference in their win-loss record.
So you mentioned Houston, Cleveland as another big series. What other series do you have on your plate to take an eye on this weekend?
I'd say you can't count out 2 of the ratings darlings for the National League that's been consistent over the years is the St. Louis Cardinals versus the Dodgers.
Yeah, to me, that's a fun one because I like that one because St. Louis has been kind of a surprise. Dodgers just seem to find ways to win. They split with the Mets this week. That has been, I think, a real interesting matchup.
Ohtani have at least 5 games in a row where he hit a leadoff home run as well?
I know he had something like that. He did have a home, or at least had a home run. Freddie Freeman, I know, came up with a big walk-off hit a couple of days ago, and they just win games with the way their bullpen injuries get. They have no starting pitching right now. But that's going to be a fun one in St. Louis. I think the Cardinals, I know all of us on the Bullpen Bulletin every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Eastern here on the network pick the Cardinals to be one of the worst teams in the NL Central. And they've surprised everybody with how good they are.
Absolutely. Despite one of their star players, Armando, struggling this year, they're still pulling well and getting a winning record so far. That's why if this were farther in the season, it'd be a more anticipated series. But the Dodgers have a lot of competition this year. The Padres are stepping up, but your co-host is going to be very disappointed with one of their starting pitchers, Corbin Burns, having Tommy John. So the Diamondbacks aren't as good, even though they made the World Series a few years back. You got the Giants stepping up this year too.
So my other 2 series to take a look at, and we'll talk about that, what you just mentioned in a second. Padres, Brewers, to me, Milwaukee's been heating up with Christian Yelich. Padres have kind of been on a little bit of a slide, but you look at it, both these teams have around the same record. And San Diego was red hot to be in the year. So Milwaukee's going to have an interesting time this weekend. And Braves, Giants, to me, this is kind of like the last stand for Atlanta. 27-34. They're 11 back. They're 4th in the East.
That is surprising. They started off their season 0-10. And they got Acuna Jr. back, who hit a home run last week against the Sox, against Bueller, who's pitching tonight.
And coming off blowing a 6-run lead yesterday, they had to call Craig Kimbrell today to try to get through at the bullpen. But Atlanta and San Francisco, Giants are a tough one. Real quick on the Burns thing, do you think Diamondbacks are done? Right now they're 31-31. They're only 6.5 back in the West. And when you look at the wild card picture, I know it's a little early, but they're only 3.5 out of a wild card. Do they have enough to get through, or is teams looking for Zach Gallen and Merrill Kelly at the trade deadline?
I honestly think it's not that. Yeah, their competition's very tough in the West, but don't forget the heart and soul of this Diamondbacks team is they're hitting. Corbin Carroll's awesome. They got Josh Naylor from Cleveland. So anything can happen if these guys get hot. And one of their hitters. And they got Marte, who's a great infielder. He may not have the best season this year, but you can't count out one of their best starting pitchers, Zach Gallen. He's awesome. So anything can happen in the desert. They're 31-31. It depends if they get hot or cold, because the competition's very tough up with Tatis Jr. and the Padres and Bogarts too. It's very tough uphill to climb. And I'm sure your co-host is very disappointed right now.
Yeah, I think Alden is probably figuring things out. I know he messaged us in our work chat. But that should be a real interesting episode on Tuesday, looking at where the Diamondbacks are. They are in Cincinnati, by the way, tonight for an interesting 3-game series. That's on Apple TV. But Brian, before I let you go, tell listeners out there about where they can follow your shorts and all those creative things you've been doing on the IESR New England side.
Absolutely. Before I head out, Ricky, thank you for having me, pal. But my underscore is at bmaddog_617 for my personal Twitter, where you go over foodie, more comedy, wrestling, and my love for Boston sports. And my professional one at IESR_New England for all the latest updates with the colleges, our major news. Marco Sturm getting signed to the Bruins to be their 30th coach, looking in the injuries with the Celtics, Patriots OTAs with David Andrews retiring. I had a couple tweets about that. And of course, I'll be tweeting all weekend for the Sox-Yankees rivalry. Can these guys overcome the greatest rivalry in all of baseball? And in the fall, you'll get a lot of shorts with the colleges as well, as the semester is ending. As one of our baseball teams in farewell in the regionals with the Northeastern Huskies at a 26-game winning streak. And yet the BC women's lacrosse making their Final Four in lacrosse 8 years in a row, but they fell short to Northwestern Memorial Day weekend. So we got a lot of stuff to cover. Even though summer's here, you'll still get some sports. You keep an eye on my shorts, of course. And thank you all. Have a great day. Woo!
That's our buddy Beat Mad Dog for hopping on the show. We'll take another quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll go around the sports world. We'll do a little WNBA and why the league kind of made a mistake with some of their scheduling issues this year. We'll also talk MLS and preview the French Open finals, which have the top 2 seeds for both the men and the women. You're listening to the Primetime Preview on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that sports. We'll be right back in just a minute.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go. For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop, including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back to the Primetime Preview for IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Thank you to our awesome sponsors, Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky, a great way to have some snacks while you are patrolling your sports TV guide this weekend. We'll also have Vital Apparel, great gym wear for a great cause in mental health research. Use the code IESR to get 15% off of your purchase. Seal the Deal Wax Seals for those awesome weddings and special events. And, of course, follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok at IE Sports Radio. Larry B., great founder of the network, hosts the Defining Moment every Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Let's get into the WNBA. The Liberty is still undefeated. The Lynx still undefeated. Lynx will put their undefeated record to the test this weekend against, I believe it is Dallas. Dallas has not been great, although to be fair, Paige Beckers has had a concussion, so she's been out for a little bit. They're 1-7, so you'd think the Lynx will get to 9-0. Liberty got to 8-0 this yesterday against the Mystics. They put up a 76-68 win, 26 for Brianna Stewart. And Sabrina Ionescu became the Liberty's all-time leading three-point scorer, so congratulations in order for her. And look, I think you got to look at the WNBA right now. It's early, but the fact is you only have 5 teams with a winning record. We're going to put Seattle into this. They're 4-4, so it's really about 6. That's not good for the league. And what is bad about the league in itself, I know Caitlin Clark has been hurt, so it's kind of affected Indiana to an extent. The Liberty and the Lynx are the 2 best teams right now. Both teams making the WNBA championship last year. They're probably the favorites to get there this time around. These 2 teams, unless they play in the Commissioner's Cup final, which we're in now, they're playing Commissioner's Cup games, and they're on track to get there again. Both are 2-0 in Commissioner's Cup play. They will not have a regular season matchup until July 30th. How do we go from late May to July 30th without the 2 teams that are by far the favorites to go back to the championship playing in a matchup? I don't know. So bad job of the WNBA where you have that matchup that far in the rearview mirror. That's a matchup we have to see. Both have played some pretty easy schedules so far. The Liberty, to their credit, did play Vegas to open the year at home, did play Indiana with Caitlin Clark on the road, and they'll play Indiana 2 more times. But that's a big thing. And Adam had some comments earlier, 6.5 back to Diamondbacks. I think they're done in the West. Wild card, I think they have a shot, but more likely Gallen and Kelly could be dealt at the trade deadline. And you're right for the W. Becker's being hurt. And then you also think about the Clark stuff, because to Adam's local area in Chicago, this was supposed to be one of the biggest games in WNBA history tomorrow night. It was an 8 o'clock tip on CBS, Fever and Sky, Clark against Reese. And I saw some of those tickets for that game were single digits in price because the matchup's not appealing anymore. And that's where CBS is doing their unveiling of this great national lineup they're doing. And it's just bad luck because that's one of the greater rivalries in the sport right now. And you're not getting it, unfortunately. Because to me, my matchup to watch this weekend is actually tomorrow night, 10 p.m. Eastern. Storm against Mercury. Mercury off to a 6-3 start on the season. Seattle, though, is favored by 4.5 on the road. Sabali with 20 points a game for Phoenix. Skylar Diggins leading with Seattle with 17. Of course, Jewel Lloyd now in Vegas. How does Seattle look? But for right now, they are favored to win that game on the road tomorrow. So that's one of those teams, again, 500, trying to get to over 500. Aces are at the Valkyries. That's 3 o'clock tip on ABC tomorrow. But again, you look at the league, not in a great spot right now. It's early, but having only 5 teams with a winning record this early, that happens with 2 undefeated teams, but that's not good. MLS, not a big slate of MLS games this week. Now they do have like your national stuff, Gold Cup. Rosters are getting unveiled for that. You have the FIFA Club World Cup next week, which will be Friday night, and we'll try to have Jess from Shin Pads and Shenanigans on next week to look into that with a lot, especially it being here in the United States. We're gonna have a lot of talk about that and preparing for the World Cup next year. But a very light slate this weekend. Only 5 games in the MLS, so we went with Vancouver and Seattle. It's a 9 o'clock kickoff in Vancouver. Vancouver, though, is dealing with a lot of injuries due to a virus going on. So we'll see if that game, there was talk that game might not even get played. I think it should still get played, but Seattle coming off the loss in their last game, we'll see if that plays a big factor. But 2 good West Coast teams, top 4 in the standings. That should be a lot of fun. LAFC against KC, Portland against St. Louis tomorrow, and then on Sunday, actually. Saturday is DC United home to Chicago, and Colorado home to Austin. So those are your matchups this week. In terms of the NWSL, top two teams back in action. The league took a week off due to Nations League and things like that. But this weekend you have KC, who has basically been one of the best teams in the league all season long. They're atop the table at 24 points. They're going to take on Gotham, who's coming off a Women's Champions League title. Even though they're toward the middle of the pack, low middle of the pack in the NWSL. It's a 1 o'clock kickoff at Sports Illustrated Stadium here in New Jersey. That should be a fun match with Lester Gonzalez. Get that scoring back underway for Gotham. We shall see. And then tonight on Prime Video at 10 Eastern, San Diego, who's one of the better defensive teams in the league, they will take on Seattle. That's a good matchup as well because Seattle's sixth in the standings. San Diego is second. So a couple good matches in the NWSL. Let's get to the French Open. Been a fun week out in Roland Garros, and we have great matchups galore in the championship. It starts tomorrow morning, 9 o'clock East, 9 a.m. on TNT. Coco Gauff, the 2 seed, against the 1 seed Arina Sabalenka. Coco is 5-4 against Sabalenka in her career, and this is a really interesting matchup. These two met in the 2023 U.S. Open final, with Gauff winning her first slam. Sabalenka, if she wins tomorrow, and she knocked off the Queen of Clay, Iga Swiatek, in the semifinals with a 6-love third set, was one of her dominant sets she's had in a while. She will try to win 3 of the 4 slams. If she get a win, both her other slams are on hard courts, so that's a big win if she can get it on clay. If Coco is able to win, she will be the youngest U.S. woman to win the French Open since Serena in 2002. I mean, that's what's on the line. Swiatek being out definitely helps Coco, and the fact that she got to play one of the Cinderella stories in the whole tournament, Louise Bosson. She won 6-1, 6-2 in the semis. So Coco is probably the more rested player. She's definitely, I think, got a little bit of a slight edge, but Sabalenka is playing some of her best tennis right now as well. And that should make for a lot of fun. Of course, Sabalenka, the Australian Open, has won Australian Open in the past. Madison Keys was the Australian Open champion this year. Coco beat her in a really memorable quarterfinal, which was a lot of fun. So that's your women's final Saturday. Your men's final Sunday is also a top 2 seed matchup. It is Yannick Sinner of Italy against Carlos Alcaraz of Spain. Alcaraz beat the Italian Musetti in 4 sets. Musetti withdrew in the 4th set after he won the first set. Alcaraz battled back, made that a lot tougher of a match. And a really good, entertaining match. Sinner was taking on Novak Djokovic, the 24-time Slam champ, this afternoon. Very good battle, but Sinner ended up winning in the 3rd set tiebreak. So Djokovic is out. Not really a surprise. Novak only had won 1 title all year. Obviously, he's more known for the slams now, but Sinner advances. They will play each other in the final. Sinner trying to win his 3rd straight major. And you look at Alcaraz right now, 7-4 against Sinner in his career. These two met in the French Open semis last year. Alcaraz rallied from 2 sets to 1 down to win in 5. I think Sinner's the more consistent player right now. He's definitely got a higher gear. Alcaraz tends to kind of has his performance dip each time. We'll see if that happens here and if Sinner can take advantage of that. Alcaraz is the better clay court player, but if Sinner wins, he'll have won 3 straight majors and a chance to claim all 4 at Wimbledon in a few weeks. So that's going to make for some fun theater. So if you look for something for TNT this weekend, early in the morning, not early, I guess if you're on the West Coast, it's really early, but 9 a.m., grab a cup of coffee and breakfast watching French Open. Should be fun. We do have some playoffs going on. The UFL and the XFL conference title games. You're looking for your football fix. Michigan against Birmingham on Sunday at 3 o'clock. Michigan has lost the first 2 matchups to Birmingham this year. Can they get redemption and win a 3rd one? It's always tough to be a team 3 times in one sport. Can Michigan do that? And St. Louis hosts DC. That's 6 o'clock on Fox. Max Duggan's been great for St. Louis as a starter. Can he keep that up? And you look at DC with Jordan Thomas. These are 2 really good quarterbacks going against each other. That game, again, in St. Louis, 6 o'clock on Fox. Winners will meet for the ultimate title in that one. We got the NASCAR in Michigan this weekend for the Firekeepers Casino 400. Tyler Reddick is going to try to repeat in that event. Kyle Larson, of course, is the favorite. Right now, if we look at the odds, no IndyCar, no Formula One this week. They all get a week off, but they will be back in action next week. We also have the NHRA this weekend. That is, I could pull that up here. We have the Thunder Valley Nats out in Bristol, Tennessee. So you do have some road races there. IndyCar is in Illinois next week, F1 in Canada, and 24 Hours of Le Mans is next weekend. We'll try to get Daryl from the Extra Mile on that. And Adam said TNT, that's Stanley Cup. So they got Stanley Cup tonight, and they got the tennis coming up Saturday and Sunday morning. So it's going to be a fun weekend for TNT. But definitely check out some of the NASCAR going on this week. Let's talk golf a little bit. Now, we're going to talk a lot more golf next week because it's the U.S. Open out in Oakmont, Pennsylvania. Of course, Rory McIlroy will try to win his second major of the year. Has not been a good week for Rory out in Canada. He is actually closer to like dead last. Last I checked, it been a rough weekend for him. He ends up finishing at +9. Right now, the person in dead last is +17. So not a good thing for Rory to go into the U.S. Open. Right now, Cameron Champ is your leader at 12 under par, 2 shots ahead of Andrew Putnam at 10 under. If you're looking for some notable names, Nick Taylor, who's played well in this event in the past, he's 3 shots back. Sam Burns is 4 shots back. Shane Lowry, a major champion, is 4 back. No Scotty Scheffler this week. Some of the stars taking the week off in preparation of the U.S. Open. So we'll have more on that. And that's usually my favorite major because the golfers look like us a lot, which I think makes for a lot of intriguing theater there. And then we have live golf going on. And it's always good when we get to the majors and the live. You have the PGA and the live guys get together, and it makes for a more intriguing majors, which I'm kind of glad they kind of have been able to solve that to an extent. We'll get your updated leaderboard on that because they had a rain delay out in Virginia today, which was I think a short one to say the least, but we'll get you your leaderboard. Last I checked, it was Phil Mickelson leading in that one. We're actually Graham McDowell. So you have a lot of former major champions getting involved in the mix at this event. John Rahm, I know, is in contention as well. So definitely, and I know people have their thoughts on Liv, where it's like it's too short, yada, 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 and I get that. But it still creates for some good theory. So here's your leaderboard right now. Martin Keimer is at 5 under par. Bryson DeChambeau is at 5 under. Everyone loves to watch Bryson. Graham McDowell is 1 shot back at 4 under par. Phil Mickelson is 4 under. John Rahm is 4 under. Patrick Reed, Bubba Watson at 3 under. DJ is at 2 under. Remember, it's a 3-round tournament. So if you're looking for your golf fix, in addition to the RBC Canadian, check out the Live Tour in Virginia. And last but not least, let's do some horse racing. We got the Belmont Stakes at Saratoga this weekend, and there is no Triple Crown on the line, but you have Sovereignty against Journalism, the 2 winners from the Kentucky and the Preakness going up against each other in that event. So be sure to check that out. Again, the Belmont Stakes for $2 million. And it's kind of sad when you have the case of the Belmont where it doesn't have a Triple Crown effect to it. So be sure to check that out. Again, Belmont Stakes, that is at 7 o'clock on Fox. That is the reason we have Red Sox Yankees so late in the day Saturday night. It's a 7:30 matchup there. We got Major League Rugby underway this weekend. San Diego against Old Glory, which is DC. Houston against Anthem, RC, and Seattle against Miami. Miami's nicknamed the Sharks in that. That's pretty cool. So rugby we got going on. And UFC tomorrow night, bantamweight title in Newark. Davashvili against O'Malley in that one. So we have UFC here locally in Newark, which is going to be a lot of fun. But that's our show for today. Episode 2 of Primetime Preview in the books. Thanks to Brian Francione from ISR New England, B-Man Dog coming on, talking some Red Sox Yankees. Again, I don't think the rivalry's dead, but I think there's a revival period that's got to happen for both these teams. Yankees had their time where they weren't that good. In the mid-2000s, the Red Sox were winning world championships. Mid-2010s. So this rivalry can come back, but it makes us see what will happen. We got Game 2 of the NBA Finals this weekend, Pacers and Thunder. Adam's going to be recapping that in the opening series on Monday, as well as looking back at Panthers Oilers tonight, Game 2 of the Stanley Cup Final. I think Carr is going to win tonight, although I still think Edmonton will win the series. I don't think they'll keep Connor McDavid down for too long. We got Women's College World Series tonight, Game 3, Texas Tech and Texas. I like the Red Raiders and Niger Kennedy to win the national championship tonight. It should be a really interesting game. With both games being decided by 1 run in the first 2. Super Regionals underway as baseball teams try to clinch their way to Omaha, North Carolina, and Louisville, 2 ACC teams off the strong starts. It should be a really interesting weekend at the Super Regionals. Florida State, by the way, your latest update up 1-0 on Oregon State. We have a lot to look forward to next week. Club World Cup will preview next week. That'll be it Friday night. We'll get that started. We'll have the U.S. Open underway in golf. Recap the French Open, which Adam will also do on Monday. A lot going on in the world of sports. We don't even have NFL going yet. So this is a fun time in June. Some of these minor sports kind of get the attention. Again, we hope that you have the attention of all the sports out there. Again, this show is like your TV guide to all the sports you can watch at your disposal this weekend. Again, follow me on X, @Radiator555, and at Sports Radio. Like and subscribe on YouTube. We really do appreciate your support. Thanks to Taryn and Adam for hopping into the chat. For all of us here at Sports Radio, for Larry B and the gang, I am Ricky Steelers saying have a great rest of your weekend. Enjoy the sports. I'll see you back here next week.